We're going to go to David Paleologos, who is the director of the Political Research Center at Suffolk University, also in Tampa, I believe. And David has been pulling apart the numbers, the polling numbers. And David, I wonder what it looks like to you. What do Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan have to do this week to get themselves where they need to be to win this election?
Well, it's really a blank slate because the Mitt Romney really needs to improve his favorability numbers. That seems to be happening already. His favorability is upticking. He's not quite at the popularity of Barack Obama, but I remember back in January when we were polling in the primaries in New Hampshire and Florida, the question was that Mitt Romney wasn't too conservative enough. And he was too moderate. Now the attacks are that he's too conservative. Well, now Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan get a chance to really clearly define who they are and what they're about, and I think that's a huge opportunity this week.
But so what you're seeing right now is pretty close to a dead heat?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
You know, no matter whether you look at the popular vote or if you look at the electoral model, Suffolk University, we have ours, many others are out there, but it's a close one.
Okay, so let's talk about the places that they have to win, the key states here. Ohio must be the top of the list.
Oh, yes, it is. Absolutely. You know, everybody thinks that Ohio, Florida, as if they're a duo. But the truth is that Ohio runs a little bit more left of center. That is, when a Florida result is usually about 2.5 points more conservative than an Ohio result. So we think Florida is going to be a red state. We think that's going to go to Mitt Romney. Ohio, on the other hand, historically, when you look at the popular vote over the last couple of presidential elections, it runs about 2 to 3 points more Democratic.
Yeah.
And so Ohio's in the mix. Wisconsin is now in the mix with Paul Ryan. Colorado is certainly a swing state, and Virginia. We have it down to those four.
Yeah, now Ohio being such a big state, you know, a lot of people thought that Mitt Romney would go with Rob Portman, who we heard from just a minute ago, senator from Ohio, as his vice presidential candidate, in part because they get along well, but in part because he is from Ohio. How's Paul Ryan playing in Ohio? Do we have any sense of that yet?
We think that in the northwest region of Ohio, there is a geographic advantage because of the proximity.
Yeah.
We noticed that the impact has been more geographical than philosophical, and this is the reason why we have Iowa as a red state, even though it's polling even now. The ballot test for Barack Obama is stuck at 46. Very difficult when you're tied at 46 to claw your way to 50 when you're the incumbent and the known quantity. So the northwest region of Ohio will be impacted somewhat. And that's also enabled Mitt Romney to go from -12 in Wisconsin to a dead heat.
Yeah. And how about Virginia? I mean, that's not traditionally, in the past, that's not a state you would have thought of as a swing state, but it's looking to be critical in this election.
It certainly is. There's two parts to Virginia. The northern Virginia is about a third of the vote. The rest is 2/3. The question is, what's the margin of victory for Obama in northern Virginia? We know he'll win it based on his history, and he'll lose the South and the West quite badly. The question is the margins. The outside factor, if you will, the variable, is a third-party candidate named Virgil Goode. Virgil Goode was a state senator for 24 years in Virginia and a congressman. He's on the ballot as currently as a Constitution Party national candidate. He'll be on 35 or 40 states' ballots, but his home state is Virginia, and right now he's polling in the high single digits at 7-8%. And if Virginia's a 2-point difference between a Democrat and Republican, someone who no one has heard of, Virgil Goode, potentially, holds the keys to the White House with Virginia.
Fascinating. Now, you mentioned you think Florida is trending a red state. You know, a couple of weeks ago when Paul Ryan was announced as Romney's vice presidential pick, a lot of Democrats were cheering, and they said because of his Medicare plan, this would hurt Romney in Florida. As Mary Kissel said a minute ago, that hadn't really happened, has it?
No, it hasn't. When Paul Ryan appeared in Florida, when he made his first steps there with his mom, and I think the message was that people over 55 would not be impacted by this, so that I think you had some misinformation going back and forth, and the Romney team has tried to clarify that. But certainly Florida is pivotal, because if Florida goes to Barack Obama, it's over, because then Ohio will absolutely go, and so that's potentially the donkey in the coal mine, if you will.
Well, it is a kind of a fascinating dynamic here that we talk about Florida, Ohio, and Florida. Romney pretty much has to win both of them. Obama doesn't have to win both of them. He could just win one of them, and that would take him over the top, right?
No, I mean, in our modeling, he still would have to win one state beyond Ohio. There are only 18 electoral votes in Ohio. We have him at 247. So that would make him 265. So he would need either the 9 from Colorado, the 13 from Virginia, or the 10 from Wisconsin. Still, it's an uphill fight for Mitt Romney, because he still trails in the Electoral College. But Ohio, no matter how you slice it, Ohio is pivotal.
Critical.
To get to the White House.
David, before I let you go, two other deficits in the polls that Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan have to work against. One, we already talked about with Karl Rove, is the deficit among women generally. And the other one is Hispanics. I mean, the Democrats will always have a lead among Hispanics, but the size of that lead could be very significant for Romney and Ryan at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely. I think what you're going to see is the gender gap close, especially in the polling in the next 3 or 4 days. Anytime Ann Romney has gotten into the spotlight, we've noticed from the polling, the likely voter models, that Mitt Romney's numbers spike, and the deficit among women narrows. We know that Mitt Romney will not win among women, but the question is, can he lose by women by a close enough margin that he can offset that among men?
Okay, David, one last question here before we let you go. What do you think Paul Ryan has to do tonight to close those gaps you're talking about?
I think he has to be himself, obviously. Very much he connects with people. He's young. He will appeal to middle and young folks. But ultimately, he needs to portray himself such that he's not a villain. You know, the Democratic National Committee and Barack Obama's campaign have tried to paint him as being a villain, and they will next week. And what he must do is to define who he is under the umbrella of the Romney campaign. And if voters are satisfied with that, that'll boost Romney in the polling over the next week.
Yeah.
And if not, then the polling will stay flat.
Okay, David, thanks very much for being with us.